All right, what's going on? My name is Jack. I've decided that I'm going to share some things that I've learned from just kind of studying the universe and God's work that I want to share with people. And so I've always wondered, like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? Where are we going? And I think it's so crazy how we have no idea where we came from. We didn't ask to be born or to become conscious, and yet we have no idea where we're going. It is very oddly profound when you think about this idea, this concept, that we have no idea how we got here, we have no idea why we're here, and we have no idea where we're going. And furthermore, that we've been forced into this whole thing, because I don't know about any of you, but I wasn't somewhere else thinking, I want to go experience what it's like to be a human and die. You know what I mean? And, go through all other kinds of suffering that you're going to experience along the way. And there's a lot of good experiences, obviously, in this life as well. Love and, the list goes on and on. We all know what makes us feel good, but we also know what makes us feel bad. And so I've always been thinking, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I've been through a lot. I spent a lot of time in jail. I've been in the military. I've struggled with alcoholism, addiction, like pretty much you name it, I've been through it. I was married. I'm going through a divorce, overwhelming like financial debt. You name it, I've been through it. And I'm still going through it. But I'm about to come out on the other side. And I want to make this video today because I want to share with people why I believe that there has to be a God and there has to be a creator. Okay, and I believe this with certainty, and it's when you think about the fact that we are literally on a floating sphere, okay, a floating sphere called Earth in the middle of space. It's just floating. There's nothing holding it up. Okay? It's just floating sphere. And furthermore, there's people and things and water on this spherical wet rock that is Earth that we happen to live on. It's just floating. Okay? And we have an atmosphere that gives us oxygen. And we happen to have lungs and a body that requires oxygenation to survive. And there is nowhere else in the universe that we know of as of late, as far as I know, where there is oxygen. Do you really think that's a coincidence? I don't think so. And we understand that the universe never ends. Literally, space is just going and going and going and going and going. And from what I understand, it's like still expanding at this point. You know what I mean? Like the Big Bang, poof. And then time and space kind of began there, which is probably God just kind of, speaking things into existence. And then poof, we're just, expanding. The universe is constantly expanding, which is crazy. Anyhow, but it's obvious to me that we and the universe exist and appear to be kind of configured and designed in an intelligent way. And we acknowledge this through kind of gaining our understanding of all of these crazy coincidences in the universe and with ourselves, that lead us to believe that, okay, when we see signs of intelligence, we know that there has to be something intelligent behind it. And so I believe that we have a creator. Okay? Now, I'm a Christian. Okay? I got Jesus right here. I'm a Christian. I'm not perfect. By no means. I cuss, this, that, and the other. I'm a sinner. The list goes on and on. Jesus got his hands full with your boy. But nevertheless, I believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Always have, always will. I have done my inventory, of Buddhism and what is it, Muslim, Islam, whatever. No offense to anybody there, but all the different religions. I have studied them, not super in depth, but I've studied them, and I've studied Christianity, I've read the Bible, and I have totally drawn the conclusion that Jesus Christ was God in the flesh, and he came and he was murdered. He did absolutely nothing wrong, and we crucified him because we couldn't control him, and that, there is certainly evil in the heart and mind, in the hearts and minds of humankind, and that God punished all of us, through his son Jesus, and that if you believe in that, he will reconcile you. I believe that. I know that I have done things unbecoming of righteousness, and I think a lot of you have too. And none of us are perfect, and that's okay. And, perfectionism is reserved for, God himself. And nevertheless, but why I believe in God, you know what I mean? It's just there's too many coincidences. And they lead to that something intelligent, a designer, has designed us. And I also went to nursing school for a few years. While I was in nursing school, I had the privilege of studying, the body. I took anatomy and physiology for a year and studied under a great doctor. And I learned a lot about the body during that year, and how basically we survive, and how your cells have a DNA code, like this crazy long, like alphabetical code that we have kind of deciphered along the way. And that code is what literally tells your cells at the cellular level, because you're made up of, God knows the number of, it's so high, you know what I mean? Of these cells, and they have a code, and that's what tells them what to do. To keep you alive. And if at any given time, any of these cells decided to just kind of go off and not work and not do their job and not do their thing, you would die. You know what I mean? Like your kidneys, if your kidneys started to fail, like it's nephrology or whatever, the study of the kidneys, and the nephron is like the kidney cell, and if that stopped working, you would die shortly. Your heart, if your heart stopped pumping, obviously you would die. You know what I mean? Your lungs, you know what I mean? Your lungs is another organ, and you're breathing out carbon dioxide and you're breathing in oxygen, and then, it gets diffused, and then, your heart starts pumping that blood, that oxygenated blood through your blood vessels, your arteries, and into the tissues, and all this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, your brain is conducting all of this automatically. You're not even thinking about none of this stuff, obviously. This is just happening. And all of these things have been programmed that way to work for you, to keep you alive. You think that's a coincidence? I was just getting started with the heart, the kidneys, the lungs. Like, that's nothing. That is nothing. If your mind would be blown if somebody who really knew what they were talking about, like an anatomy and physiology teacher, somebody who's currently well versed on this subject and has it all fresh in their head, just sat down and started to talk to you about all of the things that are going on inside your body right now to keep you alive, and that if any of them stopped working at all, you would die. And all of this stuff is going on. You're not telling it what to do. Who is? Who's telling it what to do? Where did the programming come from? Who told gravity to, to hold up? Or whatever it is. Gravity, whatever it is. Whatever it is. I don't know, man. I'm not a physicist. But who told Earth to just float in space like that? Is what I'm trying to say. Is that not insane? That we're on a floating rock we have oxygen, all this stuff is going on in our bodies. We're battling morality, good, evil, all these things. And, and then you look at all of the different religions and how, another big point I think to make here is like, imagine if you were just like a child and you asked him, like, hey, go figure out what you think is really going on. I mean, what are the answers to the universe? Like, who created God, this, that, and the other? And you kind of cut them loose in the United States of America and said, go figure it out. Well, there's a church of Christ, like, every mile. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where you guys live. I live in Florida. But literally, there's churches everywhere. Do we really think that this man and his story, Jesus Christ, just kind of, is like the most dominant religion? I think I don't speak of absolute certainty here, but if I was a guessing man, I would say that it is the most dominant religion in the world. Maybe not, but I'm thinking so. But especially in the United States, I know that has to be true. And do we really think that all of this is an accident? Again, just more coincidences. So that's a big statement in itself. You know what I mean? That there's so much time, energy, money, and so much goes into maintaining the Church of Christ, and that there's churches literally everywhere you look. Do we think it's really all bogus? You know what I mean? That we're human beings, man. We want to eat, drink, have sex, and eat, drink, and have more sex. You know what I mean? And feel good. But yet, so much time, energy, money is being dedicated, and people go to church and they give their money and they're so convicted of these things, you know what I mean? To tithe and their belief in God and this, that, and the other. For what? You know what I mean? Because it's all bogus. Like, we just happen to appear randomly. And that's another thing. You think about, our origins. It's like, do we really think that? Because if you don't believe in God, in a way, I feel like one of your kind of outs is that we had to have come from nothing, which is totally just doesn't make any sense. That all of this intelligence is going on around us and everything seems to just be working perfectly, like a perfectly conducted symphony, that we have everything we need and we're on a floating rock in space. And do we really think that the universe came from nothing? Because the concept that you have to buy in to believe that is that something came from nothing. It just doesn't make any sense. Does it? It just doesn't make any sense. So there has to be a creator. There has to be a creator. And I do believe that he's a loving creator. And that he loves us. And for so many reasons, I believe that we have a creator and that we did not come from nothing. And I think that it might be my purpose to kind of spread the message of hope through Christ and to spread the word that God is real and he loves us.